on Restream, and boy, we're here. What can I say? Amazing. Trying to get my camera set up here where it's not on this little pedestal thing. Let me grab a drink and come back to the computer. Find a drink. Oh, that would be fun. Not really. Everybody always forgets to put it in the freezer. I end up getting hot Dr. Pepper. I wanted to have a discussion tonight with my years of studying quantum physics and quantum mechanics, uh, the ontological and the non-physical, along with the esoteric. And I wanted to try just off the cuff of my studies and research over the years, which is difficult, to say the least, because of quantum physics being so complex and highly misunderstood. Most people are terrified of math, and so therefore they're terrified of quantum physics or quantum mechanics or neurology or astrophysics or cosmology or anything that would lead them into XYZ axis of calculations or sine cosine calculations or any other that we use in numerology, that we use in quantum physics to work out our calculations, to observe or to measure the phenomena we call, which is very interesting, and probably a good place to start is the question: does mathematics describe reality, or does reality describe mathematics? It's the chicken or the egg kind of thing. Does mathematics exist? We think we exist and have the capability to perform these experiments and experiments, or because it's complex, down deep into this. And tonight I wanted to kind of do not live in a physical material universe. Or, I'm trying to keep PMing me, do more and more discussion coming strictly from my understood physics. None of us truly understand quantum physics. Einstein said, if you think physics, you understand. Well, you don't. And quantum physics is very, very abstract. And the mathematics are so many different angles that to even speak levels of calculations we use will attempt to just persons, places, or things in this simulation of compression of angular mass um, and so forth and so on. Is it a particle? Is it a wave? Particle itself? We know now that the so-called their mass, their volume, they change they themselves by and others came up and including the famous racists came up with the idea, and then they ran and find out now that nothing is observed. The weirdest part of all is nothing unless it is observed. In other words, every of your room or everything is not capturing is just at least in the format or form or shape that see it to be, or a vibration, energy and attenuation that the through and complexity and its necessity to be able to create in our brain that on and in the perceptual capabilities of the connections. Just of your imagination, just of your ability to the particular patterns and manifest what we call reality. This will be very, very difficult if, as I year like I did, you would understand if you study long enough and on deep meditation, which takes years to accomplish, that you the sense of illusion anyway, of self illusion, the sense of the I or the me, the they, the you, is a So we got our connection back. That's amazing. Okay. So we got our connection back. We lost our connection there for a moment. And I don't even have any other tabs open. I'm running 4 computers tonight just to keep these other tabs open. You know, the non-physical self is that metaphysical aspect of a person believes to be innately a part of him or herself. This is non-physical. It is those intrinsic qualities compromising the elemental nature of the elusive self, such as soul. People speak of soul, spirit, breath, effort, emotion, understanding, perception, desire, will, lust, decision, personality, persona, character, honesty, conscience, reason, logic, feelings. All of these things are very, very elusive, and they're brought about by our ability to create language or logos, or the definition of something, or the description of something, such as a person, place, or thing, when the two really have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. The language doesn't make the object, and the object doesn't make the language. There's no connection there except in the illusion of the simulation, the brain creates this fantastic, magical mystery of connection and manifestation and the ability to name things, which is very, very mystical, very, very magical. The brain has this innate ability to be able to take information in through the senses. As you know, we all have five senses, and some people say we have a sixth sense, which is fine. And the brain is able to take in through the auditory and the olfactory and the kinesthetic and the visual and so forth to be able to create the illusion of self, the illusion of reality, the illusion of external reality, the illusion of the inner self. And then we go into the complex part of this whole story through indoctrination and programming, creating the illusion of self or persona or personality. From the time you're born, from the time you uh, come into existence in this particular simulation, you start to receive information. And that information is filtered through the cerebral cortex, and some say through the mind, because the mind is more advanced and more uh, complex in its maturity than the brain at birth. It takes time for the cerebral cortex to fully grow into its contextual power to be able to absorb all of the surroundings in the environment and to be able to place definitions, so to speak, on certain things. Babies have to learn what a cup is, or a bottle is, or daddy, or mommy, or whatever. So we're teaching these kids through vibration and energy and spelling. These sounds are coming out of our mouth. These sounds are coming out of our mouth, and we're pointing to and touching, kinesthetically touching things, and the children's brain is able to assimilate, oh, this equals this, and this must equal this, and if I cry, I get this, and if so all of these illusions and delusions begin to happen at a very early, complex, uh, supposed manifestations happen at a very, very early age. It's time for a baby's eyes to become uh, able to discern the external environment and for all the signals to be able to come through into the brain. At first, the baby's running at 25, 30%. And then as they get a little older, a couple of months, 3 months, their eyes begin to open more and more and more and more until they can eventually take in all of the external environmental manifestations that are coming in as information and color and sequence and angular momentum and volume and mass and trajectory and so forth. And so they begin to become a part of the illusion. They begin to become a part of the society or the culture or the tradition or the concept or the philosophy. They begin to come into this realm of illusion and simulation. But then we have to understand dark matter. The universe is said to be made up of about 70% dark matter, dark energy, which is something that we're now starting to learn more about. But the most important thing for this show tonight, I guess, would be to teach you all that everything you ever thought yourself to be, you're not. And everything that you thought yourself to be in, you're not. And all of those things that you think you see are not really there. Um, it's an illusion. I mean, this has been proven empirically beyond a shadow of a doubt. Uh, nothing exists as a material physical component of this existence in this particular paradigm. Everything is simply an illusion, and we attach meanings to things. This is where it gets really interesting, is we have the capacity, we have the ability and the capability to attach meaning to information and to form compressions. These are not only impressions, but compressions. The brain has the ability to take impressions, energy, frequency, which are impressions, become impressions in the cerebral cortex, the visual cortex, and the auditory and kinesthetic, and form compressions. So where our bodies are compressed. This is why we have hands and arms and legs and feet and all of these other things, these appendages. These are compressions of atoms. These are compressions of atoms and molecules and photons and protons coming together in the electromagnetic spectrum and acting and reacting and interacting with this particular simulation in an electromagnetic field, which is very complex and interacts with any and all atoms and molecules and quarks and muons and gluons in the universe. Um, so everything, as I said last night, is fully connected. You're simply existing in a sea of energy, and a sea of energy that is able to attenuate with vibration and frequency. And those very complex components come together to form what we call reality, or what we call persona. Now, the persona, again, is a manifestation of multiple millions and millions of variables coming together in a very mysterious way to form personality and behavior and attitude and so forth. Um, we are trapped within, I should say, most people. The majority of people in the world are trapped within a very limited capacity to be able to uh, have all of these special qualities that some of the ancients possessed many thousands of years ago, that the secret societies held very close to their hearts. They knew that we have all of these superpowers within the energy spectrum, within the frequency spectrum. We have all of these superpowers that have been denoted, that have been denied, that have been turned off. The switches have been turned off. We've been reprogrammed about 28,000 years ago through archaeological and geological finds, and through deep reading and study and research. We find that we were turned off. The special superhero switch was turned off in the simulation, and we were dumbed down about 28,000 years ago by a race that is not of this particular simulation. They had to actually drop by the simulation. Very interesting concept there. How do you visit a simulation? That's some very intelligent person asked me this morning when we were discussing this. How does one stop into a simulation and visit? And that's a very good question. These advanced societies that maybe a million years, let's just use that as a base, a million years in advance of us. Think about that, a million years in advance of this simulation. They would have the capability to be able to stop by. They would have the ability to be able to meld with these particular frequencies and energy bases that we have in this particular phenomenon that we exist in. They would be able to work with that, and they would be able to receive that. And it wouldn't necessarily be a physical visit of some sorts. It wouldn't necessarily be a landing of some sorts. It would again be an illusion, all happening within the context of the cerebral cortex, and all of these manifestations would come together to form the impressions of the compression, which is physical material illusion and delusion that we think we are. So it's very, very interesting, folks. You have to really dig into this. You have to really dig down deep into this. If everyone would really study hard, research really deep, and really read a lot of very, very, very wonderfully smart people throughout the ages. All of the books I've read, probably over 5,000 nonfiction books on secret societies and neurology and cosmology, astrophysics and Buddhism and the Tibetan Book of the Dead and all of these other books that are really beautifully written, Hindu, Babylonian, Syrian, Rosicrucian, the Dead Sea Scrolls, all the way back to the hieroglyphics of Egyptology. I've read all of those books and I've really enjoyed learning about these things. The ancients knew all of this. As a matter of fact, quantum physicists today are catching up to what the ancients knew thousands of years ago in this particular simulation that we're in. We're just now learning. We're babies. We're just now learning of these things. This knowledge and this wisdom has been around for thousands, millions of years. And as I said before, these simulations come and go on the bell curve. They come and go. They exist and they cease to exist. They exist and they cease to exist. They exist and they cease to exist on this continuum. We have a continuum that we could state. So, you know, these simulations are coming into existence as bubble universes. We could call them bubble universes through string theory. They come into existence and they go out of existence. And they manifest and then they remanifest and they attenuate and reattenuate. So it's all invisible, though. It's not visible. There is no visibility in the phenomena or the substrate. There's no visibility. The visibility is the illusion. The visibility is the illusion. The I is the illusion. The me is the illusion. The self is the illusion. The ego or the id is the illusion. So we come into this substrate with this uncanny ability to kill, destroy, be angry, be mad, be depressed, be stressed, be under pressure, to be sick, to be diseased, to be unbalanced or imbalanced. We come into this particular compression with those types of facilities within the context of the cerebral cortex. If it wasn't for the cerebral cortex and this strange phenomena we call sentience or consciousness, of course, nothing would exist at all. Um, and what does exist out there beyond the substrate, no one really knows. Although that year of silence that I spent in Tibet uh, brought me into the oneness with and totality of the substrate, which is one of the most beautiful moments that a person can experience, is to leave this silly cinema, this theater, this wag the dog kind of clown world that the simulation provides for us is a beautiful, beautiful thing. If we all could do that, there wouldn't be any war or fighting or killing or destruction or the demise of civilizations or the rise of civilizations. All of that's ridiculous. It's silly. It's theater. It's an illusion. It's insanity. It's crazy. But that's what this particular phenomena, this particular paradigm is about. This is how the algorithm was programmed. So we must stay within the context of the algorithm, okay? We must stay within the context. We must remain in the context of the particular algorithm in the substrate, from the substrate, the manifestation from the substrate, We must remain in that particular algorithm, enslaved in that algorithm, and bondage to that particular algorithm. And that sets up the intellectual capacity of the avatar. So, where people get trapped is in belief systems. On this show, I've talked a lot about the poison of belief is more poison than the manifestation of religion, or the idea or concept of religion, or devils or demons or angels or magical trees of life or death, and all of these other crazy things that exist in this particular paradigm. Those are the things that you want to shed. Those are the things that you want to get rid of if you want to be a master Shia, a master teacher, or a yogi, a true sage. You must get rid of all of these delusions of self. The Buddha says if you see a Buddha on the road, kill him. Well, what does that mean? If you see a Buddha on the road, kill him. It means kill yourself. I tell people all the time, they come to Marion and I for counseling, and they say, what can I do? What can I do? And I say, kill yourself. And they say, what did you just say to me? And I said, kill yourself. And thank goodness, before some actually jump off the building, they ask me, what does that mean? And I say, in order for you to come into this fantastic, mystical, magical recognition of this particular paradigm, and go beyond this paradigm and beyond this manifestation of the algorithm that you've been presented with, you must kill yourself. You must kill everything that is associated with all of the propaganda, information, misinformation, disinformation, and all of these other things that have come in to poison you, okay? You have been poisoned, okay? All of you have been poisoned. All of you have been enslaved by this delusion of the self. You have to kill the self in order to free. To be free, you have to kill yourself. So many of you have ego problems. So many of you are stubborn. You're set in your ways. You want to be special. You want to be clever. You want to be a genius. You want to do this. You want to do that. Your brain is just spinning around like a little hamster wheel. And all of these things are just ridiculous. If you look at the average Master Shia Buddhist, they just go around with a big grin on their face all the time. And you wonder why they always have that big grin on their face. It's because they understand all of this. It's because they know what's going on, and this substrate is not what's really going on at all. You're trapped in a circus, a three-ring circus. And if you don't free yourself from that circus, you'll end up being black or white or Indian or Hindi or Hindu or Pentecostal or Methodist or queer or straight or pronoun or Democrat or Republican or strong, fat, short, skinny, ugly, hair-lip, big-eared. You got to get rid of all this stuff. You got to get rid of all this stuff. You'll never meet a Master Shia that even has this conceptualism within their cerebral cortex. They're always living, as I say, in the penthouse, as I always live in the penthouse. I've shed the basement. I go in the basement now to talk to others who are still there, trapped. They haven't been able to get on the elevator yet. They haven't found the right key. The elevator's there, but the elevator has a key. And you have to have the right key, and you have to put it in the right hole, and you have to turn it and open that elevator, and you have to get on the elevator. Well, this is a sign of manifesting a higher consciousness. As you get on the elevator, you're manifesting a higher consciousness. You're coming out of a lower frequency, attenuation of frequency, and you're raising your vibrational frequency. You know, the master Shias, when I was in Tibet, could levitate, and they could move 1,000-pound rocks just by attenuating with the frequency of the rocks, and they could move them. I've seen them move rocks, 1,000-pound rocks, 15 feet off the ground, and I've seen them levitate right before my eyes. And I've levitated many, many times. But I held a vow of silence for 1 year. My brain was not allowed to live in the silly cinema, to live in the three-ring circus. Your whole objective is to completely kill yourself. You must kill yourself, or you're not allowed to enter the temple. You know, I always say you have to pound the rice to be on this show. You have to pound the rice to be on my team. 2 out of 100 people make my team because they have to pound the rice, and nobody wants to pound the rice. Everybody wants to be who they are. Everybody wants to think they're special. Everyone wants to think they already know it all. Everyone wants to think that they've got all these mysterious things going on, and they got all this shit happening, man, and they just can't release themselves from that, you know. They just can't get out of the bling bling and the bang bang, man. And that's just people that are ignorant and stupid and retarded and dumb and delusional and just totally insane. They will never amount to a hill of beans when it comes to becoming a master Shia or a master teacher or being able to explain these things. Why we have war, why we have violence, why we have men raping women and women raping children, why we have decapitations, why we have starvation, why we have homelessness, why we have all of these things is because people live in the basement of the cerebral cortex. They live in the little brain, you know, that medulla oblongata, that lower medulla oblongata, that, you know, below the pineal. They're never able to escape that monkey brain. And it's very difficult to do because of cognitive dissidence, stubbornness, set in your ways, mindset. Mindset. Many people have a mindset. This is a bad thing. The last thing you want is a mindset. This keeps you locked in the car. You're never able to get out and walk around and see the scenery. You're locked in the car your whole life. A mindset, a belief system. When you talk about, oh, I have a belief system, well, that's a big deal. That's a whole system of things. That's a whole paradigm. That's a whole linear illusion you've got there. You know, you're coming from your supposed past, dragging that ball and chain all the way up here with you to me now. You're going to throw all that junk on me when I meet you. You're going to throw all that junk on me. You know, we talked about relationships last night and how difficult they are. Well, they're difficult because people haven't listened to this show and they haven't listened to what I'm saying in my teachings about you have to cut that ball and chain, and that's killing yourself. You have to get rid of all the past baggage, all of the past illusions, all of the past delusions, all of the past concepts and philosophies, and all of the higher education, and all of the things you think you learned in science class, and all of the things you think you know about psychology and sociology and cosmology and astrophysics. I'm not saying that any of these things are wrong. I'm just saying, in order to move up to Master Shia, you have to first get rid of all. You have to cut that tie. You have to cut that tie completely. And I mean completely. If you have 1 ounce of that you're carrying around with you, it's going to keep you at a very low vibrational level. And it's going to drag you back down. Like when I fly my airplane, I have drag. And if I have too much drag, I'm going to stall and I'm going to fall. Too much drag, stall and fall. Too much drag, fall and stall. All of these emotions that people carry around with them. Many people, both men and women, are highly emotional and easily triggered and live in this world of drama. They live in this world of judgment. They're going to judge you. They're going to tell you how smart they are. They're going to try to convince you of something. They're going to try to sell you a bill of goods. You know, this is all bullshit. This is just complete bullshit. This is why I said the other night when I sit on the porch with my guy who has 3 PhDs, and we have the most beautiful discussions, kind of like Spanky and I have these beautiful, beautiful discussions. Spanky's starting to come into this. He doesn't even know it. He's here right now, but he doesn't even know it. But he's coming into this Master Shia realm. And, you know, people that get together like that, they never argue, they never fuss, they never quarrel, they never scream at each other, they never yell at each other, they never get up and throw a, stick an axe in your head or something. You know what I mean? So it's very, very, very difficult to pick up on these types of things. People don't want to let go of the old self. People don't want to let go of their emotions. They don't want to let go of their belief system. They don't want to let go of their dogma. They don't want to let go of their religion. They don't want to let go of their politics. They don't want to let go of their tradition, their creed, their dogma, their color. They don't want to let go. So they hold on to all of these things, not realizing that it's just dragging them down into the deepest part of the murky ocean of nothingness. And they'll never succeed financially. They'll never succeed. They'll never succeed. And even if they do, they will have lost the opportunity to move into that higher realm of consciousness and fade out and then exit consciousness altogether and move into that super, super fantastic, mysterious realm of the dark matter and the ether and getting closer and closer to that substrate that we call God or Source. Okay? So it's very difficult to let go of the self, and I'm going to ask you all tonight, and I'm probably going to hear some stuff I don't want to hear. But I'm going to ask you all tonight, how many of you will admit that you're dragging around a self that you need to get rid of? I'll bet you not everybody here is going to do that. It's very difficult to admit that this self has to go. All of it. Every bit of it has to go. And then you have to shake the Etch-a-Sketch, and then you have to start redrawing the lines. Even if you're 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, it doesn't matter. You have to shake all that bullshit off, and you have to take a new look, a fresh look at everything. And you will start to see the complexity in all of this, but also the beauty and the magnificence and the mystery of coming into this super consciousness and this super awareness of what's really going on in this algorithm. And you'll start to understand how dangerous language is, and you'll start to understand how to use language much better, and you'll start to learn how to articulate what you're trying to get other people to understand or grasp. You'll find that your relationships will start to become much more balanced, because this is a lot of manipulation and coercion going on in all of this teaching, because you're dealing with sick people, you're dealing with dis-ease, you're dealing with psychosis, you're dealing with cognitive dissonance, you're dealing with stubbornness, you're dealing with drama mamas, you're dealing with crazy Karens, you're dealing with all of this shit that people want to drag over to your house. And you got to put a sign on the front door that says, leave all this shit outside. And then you start to teach. I don't take on very many students today. I've told you all this on many, many shows. I have 2 students right now. And that's only because they passed the test. They pounded the rice. They pounded the rice and they pounded the rice. And they realized for the first time that everything they thought they knew was bullshit. Anybody have any comments? Faith, would you like to comment on my narrative tonight?
I'm gonna have to duck out because I'm in the bathroom and it's loud. I'm not going to the bathroom, but I'm doing my hair.
Oh, doing your hair. Isn't that sweet? See, that's silly there. You don't need to do your hair. It's beautiful all the time, even when it's all mussed up. You know, you need to do what I did and just shave that damn thing. Just look at this, man. I don't have to worry about my hair at all. Spanky, you don't have to worry about your hair, do you, Spanky?
Nope. Nope. Turn the mirror on. Give me. Turn the camera on. Give us a lesson on straightening our hair out.
Oh, yeah, Faith, that would be so cool, man. We'd love to see you make up your hair. We could put that on TikTok or something and make some money, I think. But
Yeah.
no, Faith, your hair, Faith, is always beautiful. I'm sure even when you get up in the morning, it's beautiful. Um, but folks, it's amazing what the discussion that we're having tonight is. Oh, hello, Amos, Adele. Nice to. I'm glad you're here, Amos. I'm glad all of you are here. My God, I didn't realize there were so many people here. Um, yeah, it's amazing how many people don't take the time to stop and clean out the attic. You know, some people might stop drinking. Some people might stop doing dope. Some people might stop gambling down at the casino, all of their money away. Some people might stop beating up their wife for a change and start actually respecting her and loving her and honoring her. And some people might stop a lot of things, but that doesn't mean very much. You have to get into the totality of this particular existence. You have to get into the totality. You have to look at the totality, and it's massive when you look at the totality and the potentials that exist within this algorithm. The potentials are endless. They're exponential and very explosive and very powerful. You have the power to fly. You have the power to telekinesis. You have the power to be able to change your whole realm within this simulation. But very few people do that actively in a highly way. Most people just do it kind of on accident. Every now and then they'll pull a good one, every now and then something will work. But they're not actually doing it as a specialist. They're not actually doing it as a master teacher. They're not actually pulling from the Akashic records. They're not actually pulling from the quantum field. They're just accidentally doing something. Every now and then something good will happen to them, and they'll go, "Ooh, that was cool. That worked. Oh." But I live in the penthouse all the time, and I cannot tell you how wonderful it is up here. It is so peaceful and so blissful and so beautiful and so wonderful and so healing and so healthy. Now, do I have problems? Yes. Do I have some psychosis? Yes. Do I have some stress? Yes. Do I have some depression? Yes. We all do. Even the Dalai Lama. Even the Dalai Lama. Because I've been with the Dalai Lama. I swam naked with the Dalai Lama in the ocean with the sharks. You know, we all have difficulties. We all have problems, and it's a very difficult thing to remain on this master Shia level all the time. It's very, very difficult to remain in this because there's so many distractions around us. There's people knocking on the door, banging on the door. The landlord's banging on the door. You get a mail that says, you owe $2,433 or $24,000 in taxes you forgot to pay, or you're being audited by the IRS, or the cops are knocking on your door. Your neighbor reported your music's too loud. There's always some kind of fucking distraction going on. And you've got to be able to run under the radar all the time. You got to be able to get rid of all these distractions. You know, when you put yourself out there and you put yourself out there, put your ego out there, put your pride out there. You know, Spanky's always cool, man, because he's quiet. He doesn't open himself up for these distractions. He doesn't invite these crazy people over. He doesn't get himself into situations where he's going to get in trouble. You see, you can learn a lot from Spanky because he doesn't put himself in dangerous situations. And I don't put myself in dangerous situations unless I've been instructed to by someone I trust in order to carry out a mission that is going to be successful to help other people escape some type of torture or some other kind of pain and suffering. Spanky, would you like to comment on some of this?
I think my cat is trying to comment. If you could see him.
Yeah, well, I love your cat. I love your cat, man. I love your cat,
Yeah,
man.
I
So
got
what we're
five.
talking about, so what we're talking about tonight, Spanky, is very, very complex, and it's at the PhD level. It's very difficult. It's very complex. It's very hard for people to grab a hold of. It's very difficult for people to comprehend and to. Some people like to push it off. They like to say, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. Oh, no, 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 I know more than that. Oh, no, 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 I'm smart. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm special. And they're just blah, 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 running their mouth. And that shows you they're stupid.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
people that just run their mouth about how smart they are and how many connections they have. And oh, their world is full of this and their world is full of that. And they've got this and they're the CEO of this and the CEO of that. And they're the leader of this and the leader of that. And they know this and they know that. And they're magical and they're big. They're just fucked up. They're at the lowest point of vibration. The lowest point of vibration.
Yeah, the
Come
one that
on.
gets, yeah, the one that gets me is the ones that sit back and say, "Do you know who I am?" And I look at them and say, "I don't give a fuck about you, whoever you are." Them
I
is the big ones there when
I've
they
met
say that.
a few people who do you know who I am? You have no idea who I am. And I'm like,
Exactly,
when I was
exactly.
undercover working in some very dangerous environments. Of course, I met people like that a lot. I would be in situations where I would have to go head to head with some very powerful, nasty people, and the first thing out of their mouth with a cigar, you know, and the cocaine on the table, do you know who I am? I don't
Hmm.
think you know who you're dealing with here.
Hmm.
And I'm
Yep.
just like, well, now I'm dealing with a dead guy.
Yep. Yep. I just look at them and say, "I don't know who you are, and I don't give a damn who you are." Oh boy, here he
But
goes.
on the other
Yeah, I just
hand,
dealt with that today. Someone said he was Jesus and Horus and a bunch of other bullshit. I'm tired of
oh,
people telling me
Faith,
that they're Jesus.
Faith, Faith, I interviewed Jesus, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I interviewed Jesus a few years ago. That was so trippy, man. That was so trippy, man. I was like, oh, Jesus is man said, I got you, I got you an appointment with Jesus to interview. And I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah, Jesus is coming on Thursday night. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool, man. And this guy came on, and I was excited, man, to meet somebody that thought they were Jesus. Talk about fucking delusional. Talk about fucking crazy. So I took it all very serious, and I respected the guy, and I brought him on. I said, "Welcome, Jesus, to the program." And he was telling me about the this and that and the other, and all these stories and stuff, where he was at. I said, Jesus, where did you go for 13 years when you were missing? Why did you come back when you were older? You left when you were 13. You didn't come back until you were 33. Where did you go all that time? And he went into all this. He went into all this story about, he went to Tibet, which is true, and he went to the Middle East, and he went all over Asia, and he studied with the Buddhists and the Hindus and the Hindus and the Babylonians, and he was doing all of these meditations and learning Falun Gong and Tai Chi and martial arts, and you know, and it was all pretty cool, And I was thinking, wow, this guy's pretty neat. I mean, I know he's nuts, but he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You
But
know what?
what?
You know what? You just clicked the switch in my brain because yeah, he left at 13, didn't come back until he was 35. Next pastor I see, I'm gonna ask him that question.
Well, he was 33 when he came back,
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
came back. He was gone and he was studying, as far as we know from the historical record side of the bullshit Old and New Testament. He went into
Hmm.
deep study with some Indians and Buddhists and some of the top sages and yogis of the world, and he really got into some really heavy stuff. And if this is all true, I mean, we know now why he came back and was so-called miracles, because they weren't miracles. It's just using your facility at a higher level of consciousness and a higher level of, it's not, there's no miracle, just being able to do what you should be doing anyway. But the switch was turned off 28,000 years ago, and you have to decalcify not just the pineal and parasympathetic nervous system um, connections have to be refiltered, and all the chakras have to be cleared. Faith can tell you more about that, but the chakras they're stuffed up. It's like you've stuffed them full of cotton. You have to clear the chakras, and this is very difficult to do. It doesn't happen overnight, and it has to do with diet, and it has to do with your personal psychology. It has to do with your behavior, your attitude. It has to do with your exercise, water intake. It has to do with your spiritual awakening, and your passion to be able to grow in consciousness. And so, not a lot of people are ever able to get rid of it. And so they end up with cancer, end up with heart attacks, and they end up with pneumonia, they end up with dementia, they end up with this, they end up with that. That's caused from its dis-ease. Ease is all emotional. It's all emotional. All of these things manifest from consciousness. Okay? They don't just pop up. They manifest from consciousness. And they manifest from living in a low frequency, being in a low frequency. You're taking in all of the electron all the time. You're taking dirty electricity, waves, selenium, aluminum, barium, strontium 137, CRISPR, all the mRNA technology, the ribonucleic technology, the nanobiotech technology, the nanoparticulate technology. You're taking in the forever chemicals. You're breathing in the forever chemicals. So there's 1,000 things, 10,000 things going on to stop you from rising in consciousness. And they know this. This has happened in the simulation, not necessarily directly, not necessarily pre-scripted. It is happening in the simulation, and it does create a block in your chakras, and it blocks your ability to move into a higher level of consciousness, which will give a much more clear picture of the environment, both internal and external environment. When you become a master Shia, you lose the context or the idea of self. The self melds with the universe. You don't you no longer have a self. I don't walk around right now with a self. You don't even see a self here. I'm not even there's no self here. I am selfless. I can come off as selfish. I can come off as an asshole, but that's just part of the game, okay? Selfless. I'm melded with the substrate. I am not chained to this existence. I'm not chained to this delusion. I refuse to be chained to this illusion, this delusion. And I refuse to be around people who are chained to that delusion and refuse to rise above it, like women who are dramatic and emotional and crazy Karens and negative Nancys and all of these other women who are like superior to men. They have to be superior to everyone. They have to be smarter than men and better than men. And, you know, they've got an inferiority complex and they're always pushing to tell everybody how smart they are and how, you know, how magical they are and how mystical they are. And, you know, all of this is just insanity. It's insanity. It's insanity.
What's
Chris,
interesting
welcome.
is that the guy
Go ahead.
who said he was Jesus, he
Yeah.
said, if you're supposed to be Jesus's wife, you just assume this. Don't you think Jesus is going to be mad at you for having all those sexy pictures out there? And I said, no, because Jesus loved everybody. It's like, what the fuck? What's wrong with people?
Well, you know, I'd like to kind of reiterate what you just said about sex. Sex is beautiful. You know, if you read Song of Solomon, I'm not going to start Bible thumping here, but I would like to mention Song of Solomon. You know, most pastors pass over Song of Solomon. They won't preach it. They simply won't touch it because it's about pleasure and it's about sex and it's about lust and it's about perversion and it's about women's lustful breast and beautiful breast and it's about coming and or having a massive orgasm. And you know, Song of Solomon, they just pass that right through. It doesn't exist. Oh, I'm not gonna read that. Oh no, I'm not gonna read that. You know, so they pick and choose what they want to talk about, these pastors, you know what I mean? But sex is beautiful, sex is healthy, sex is mysterious and magical and mystical, and it's elusive and it's orgasmic. You know, I've had some of the greatest sex in the world. I mean, I've had some of the most, it's just unbelievable. It's incomprehensible. The sex I've had has been so fucking dynamic beyond probably any of you because I am so goddamn perverted and uninhibited and just, I can become a devil in bed, you know. And I can make women do pretty much anything I want them to. Fucking drink my piss if I wanted them to drink my fucking piss and finger themselves. But you know, I'm crazy motherfucker. And I can do all these things. And I have this espionage mind. I have this coercion, this elusive coercion. I have this neuro-linguistic programming going on. I have this hypnotic voice. You know, I'm powerful. I'm tall. I'm handsome. I play guitar. I speak spoken word. I'm magical. I do all these things like Faith Mystic. You know, we're superheroes. You know, we can just make people do our bidding for us. And that's the diabolical side of higher. Let me, it's the diabolical side of master. You have to be very careful as you rise in consciousness. You have to be very careful as you rise in your ability to see beyond this elusive manifestation because you can become a very dangerous creature. And Faith, you know this. You know this, Faith.
I wanna, I wanna, I wanna, I wanna go back on something that you spoke about
Yes.
earlier. You talked about, you talked about how the body, how cleaning your body and what your body does, you know, and I mean, I have mentioned it before about that a lot of people do not use their full brain. Okay. Now, the question is, do you believe that your body can repair itself from any type of toxins or
Not in the
any
body
type of,
is naturally programmed to have a really strong immune system response to any invading pathogens or bacteria or foreign matter or dis-ease. But the problem is people are so nutritionally, and Faith will back me up on this, people are so imbalanced and they're out of sync and they're so diseased with a lack of nutrition, a lack of supplements, a lack of proper diet, let's say. They don't exercise, they don't ground themselves, they're not grounded, and they're having psychological problems, and they're taking in all of these poisons from the external environment and all of this negative information coming in. They're letting it, they're building that ball and chain, and they're making that ball bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're dragging it along behind them, and they just can't get rid of it. And that's what causes the sickness. You got to cut that chain. You got to kill yourself. When you kill yourself, your body will heal. Cancer, dementia, I don't care what it is. I could stab you in the. I know. Honestly, I know. When I studied Zen, I'm a Zen master. I've studied 9 forms of martial arts, and I know Tibetan monks that can be. You could stab them in the stomach, and they could repair it just like that. It would be if you've never stabbed them. I've actually seen this
Yeah,
happen before my very eyes. Now that, my
yeah.
friend,
People
is
don't.
power.
Yeah, and that's the power of the mind. But a lot of people don't realize they do it themselves, but they do it themselves, but they do it at a much lower form. If you was to get cut with a knife, you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? You get
Hmm.
cut with a knife, you wrap your finger up for a couple of weeks and everything. But a lot of people really don't know the true power of the mind.
Well, they
Yeah,
only know what they've been told, and they only know what they've been programmed to believe that they are, or they are supposed to be. They haven't been given the opportunity to reach beyond the scope of that basic paradigm and move beyond that basic consciousness and move into a super state of consciousness.
yeah,
They haven't been taught because they haven't had anyone around them who knew how to take them there. It's like, I'll mention this and we'll probably get cut off from our other sponsor. I'm sorry, I don't care. I'm sorry. It's like women may come to you and say, I like to have sex, and you go, oh, great, it's wonderful, let's have sex. Well, some men can take women, like I can take a woman, and I can take a woman who's never really had many orgasms with men. They faked a lot of orgasms, and they went, ooh, yeah, let's smoke a cigarette. And then I could take women into 25 orgasms, and take women to points unknown that are undiscoverable. They're not, they're just realms of ecstasy that are just beyond imagination. But see, that's the same thing. Is you got to have a higher consciousness to be able to do that, and you've got to want to be able to please the other person. You can't walk in there thinking, I'm just going to get a quick off, and then we're going to smoke a cigarette. you know, I think Faith will say amen to this. I mean, you don't want to be with a man who's just a jackrabbit and who wants to get it in and get it out and get a cigarette. I mean, women need to be treated with respect and honor and dignity, and they need to be able to be satisfied completely. And that comes with trust and openness and transparency and
Mhm.
communication and interaction. Right, Faith? Or wrong?
That does help a lot, and also the ability to know what they're doing.
Well, as I said, know what they are doing is very important. Uh, and that goes for the female too, because a lot of times the female will have a male who is immature and stupid and just incompetent and just doesn't know a thing about women whatsoever and has no idea what's really going on, and the woman has to train the man. This happens all the time. This
Yeah,
happens all the time.
it's
The
true.
woman has to tell the man, this is what I want, this is what I want you to do, this is what I want us to do, this is how I want us to feel, this is the way this should all work out. But there again, with a lack of communication, none of that is going to happen. I've counseled with couples that have been married 10, 15 years, And the wife tells me that he's never done anything to me that made me want to write home to mom.
Hmm.
I'm still sitting here pent up, and I'm still sitting here bored, and I'm still sitting here like, well, that stupid idiot. You know, it's because they don't communicate, or the male is like a monkey. He's still in his monkey stage, his Neanderthal stage, his Cro-Magnon stage. He's not even Homo sapiens sapia yet. He hasn't even graduated to Homo sapiens sapia. And so, therefore, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know what's going on. You get it, Faith? You get it? Am I right?
Well, hopefully, I don't have to deal with that kind of shit. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I comprehend, and it is a lot to even trust somebody to shag, let alone somebody who doesn't know how to shag or is not connecting on that level. I think one of my recent partners that I had put the hand on my heart space and on my center of my stomach and just kind of knew exactly how rough to play. Didn't
Yeah.
play too rough, and so it was a good eye and eye communication. Good
Hmm.
communication. Although whenever you say something hurts, they always want to do it harder. I found that out the hard way.
Hmm. 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 Yeah. I think somebody on this show was talking. I don't know if it was Spanky and me or Michael was talking about some women love to be choked. I've been with a few women who like to be
Oh,
choked
boy.
during sex. But somebody asked me one time, "Is that violence or what is that? Is she wanting you to punish her or what is going on there?" Well, there's a few things happening there. Number one, it's an erotica constriction. They're looking for an erotica constriction. Now, I don't know if you all know what that is. Erotica constriction is when you're about to orgasm and you cut off the carotid arteries just enough, about 32%, and your orgasm triples, quadruples. Okay,
That's what killed
that's
David Carradine.
well, it's what's killed a lot of my people that I've picked up with erotica hangings. A lot of people, I used to pick up a lot of erotica hangings because people would sniff some rush, or they would take some cocaine, spread all the dirty books out on the bathroom floor while mommy wasn't looking, and then they would hang themselves on the towel rack, and then boom, boom. But they forgot to let go. It felt too good. They stayed too long, and guess what happens next? You're dead. You're dead.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's what happens there. So this is why women want to be choked, and this is why some men, very few men, want to do this, but there are some men who want to be choked. And of course, there is punishment involved too. Women like to be punished. Some women like to be punished. You're a bad girl. You're a whore. You're this. You're that. You're a slut. Whatever, and then pull their hair and all that kind of thing. They love it. They love it. They love it. They love
Oh,
it. They can't get enough of it. They want more and more and more and more and more. And first thing you're beating them with a two before, but they love it. And people pay for this kind of thing. I mean, the women pay for this kind of thing. Men pay. So there is all kinds of sex. We did a show one night on fetishes and fantasies, and we may do another one. I don't know if my sponsor will allow that. My other co-partner here will allow that, but she has a ministry. But by the way, oh my God, I'm in trouble now. But fetishes and fantasies. We did a show on one night, and it was amazing at the fetishes and fantasies that people have. It's just amazing. I mean, there was a list a mile long of fetishes that were just weird. I was like, I don't get surprised very easy. I don't shock very easy. But there was some things in there that just blew me away. We laughed all night. Michael was on, and we just laughed. I rolled out of the chair completely because men are actually paying women to tie them up on the bottom of a chair while the woman watches some kind of porn. She eats a lot
lost
of
you.
beans and farting on him. And he's
Oh, that's
he's
good.
smelling. He's
You got
paying her $100. He's paying her hundred and
Oh,
fifty dollars an hour, $200 an hour, just to
damn.
just to do that.
That's
And
crazy.
so, pay me. Faith says. I was wondering, wow, that's kind of weird. I don't diss anybody for their fetishes, but that's kind of strange.
I had
We
somebody
laughed.
ask to buy my fishnets for $150.
Yeah, women
Yeah.
sell their. Women sell
I
their panties
bought
all
some
over the world.
fishnets and I sold them. Fuck that shit. I
Women
gotta.
sell their panties all over the world for 50, 60, 75, $150. They bid on them depending on how long they've worn them and the relationship they've had, and they know each other online. It's amazing. It's amazing what these guys will buy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's insane. Chris, are you selling your panties to anybody, or are you with us? Let me open Chris up here, see if he's selling his underwear around the world or anything like that. We want to know. Chris, are you here? I think we embarrassed Chris. I think we embarrassed Chris to death, and he's just not going to talk to us tonight. Um, but anyway, getting back to higher consciousness. Wow, I think it's really, really, really we should teach people to teach people. See, the whole point of all of this really is teaching people to teach people. If you're not teaching people to become a master, if you're not teaching people to be a teacher, and if you're not helping them become an instructor, to instruct other people to grow in consciousness, then we're not getting anywhere. We're not going anywhere at all. We're just not going anywhere at all. Somebody just dropped off. Somebody just dropped on. Spanky's back.
Yeah, I'm
Okay, there
back.
he is.
I'm back.
But the whole point here is we need to teach each other everything we possibly know about synchronicity and balance and harmony and love and forgiveness and discernment and intuitiveness and pleasure and all of these other wonderful things, higher consciousness, and try to help people climb into that higher consciousness and climb into that higher awareness. So yeah, it's very important that we do that. FM, Faith is with us. No one is with us. Spanky's with us. Chris, are you with us yet or not? Did you just come on to say no one is here? Chris
Somebody
was
else is here.
Well.
Somebody
Chris
else is
is
here.
here. Chris is
Yeah,
here, but he's not talking. He's
yeah.
he was going to get a new microphone tonight. He was going to buy a headset tonight. I'm donating a computer to him, and I'm going to mail it to him. He doesn't have a computer, so Marion and
Hmm.
I have discussed it, and we're going to get him a computer. He doesn't have one, and we're going to send him one. But as rich as Faith is, she should have. That bitch should have already sent him a computer. The least Faith could do. My
As
God,
rich, I got
as
kids I gotta
rich
feed. I'm a single
as
parent. I
See,
got.
Faith, come on, you're independently wealthy. I know. Don't
I would
kid us, Faith.
love to. I accept that call. They said they're gonna start paying me for my job that I've been doing for these 3 months. So hopefully, I will have. I trust that I will have a lot of wealth, and then I could start being productive with it. But all this VA stuff, all these locations, it's finally happening, but it's really fucking traumatic to do research on all this shit. All these locations. They have me looking at our prisons that have been closed down that were youth facilities, and I'm wondering why do they have to be prisons?
I know. I know. I know.
And I think I know why.
It's we did a. I think you and I talked about mental health and Spanky the other night. We were talking about the mental health system and how crazy it is and how insane and how they're locking people up just for having different set of opinions than they do.
Mm.
They lock you up. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. When people can't express their opinions and express their feelings, we've got a problem here in America. We've got a
Mm.
real problem here. When people can't have these types of discussions, we're not learning anything, are we? We're not learning anything. We're just staying stale. We're just
Mm.
stale. We're at a stalemate. And that's why I love to have these shows. I do hope our other partner over there doesn't get too upset about some of the nastiness I've talked about tonight, but that's just the way this show rolls. And if she does, that's just too bad. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I take that back. I'm not sorry. AMO Sedale 777. I know you. You look familiar, Adele. Sedale. Edel. Sedale 777. You look like a friend of mine from Australia. But I don't know. Let me know if that's you from Australia. AMO, if you're still here after all of this. So Chris, are you here or what? You just hanging around? Where are you at, Chris? Are you? What's going on? Chris? Hello, Chris. Chris? Well, Chris is just listening and learning, I guess. Chris is listening and learning. I wanted to mention, let's see if I can get this back on. No, that turned off. Let's see. Um, I wanted to get an opinion on, I wanted to actually tell people why people are so hell bent on believing in physical material reality and being trapped in this ethereal type of delusion, this physical mental delusion that people are trapped in, remain trapped in, instead of realizing the non-physical elements, and categorical manifestations of non-physical reality. It's very difficult to, um, Christianity followers believe God created the earth. This is crazy. This is the substrate we're talking about: Yahweh, Yeshua, Elohim, Atam, Brahman, so forth and so on. They believe that God created the sky, the universe, the earth, but many of the world's belief systems believe the universe, like God, is uncreated and equal with the divine. Now, that's a real oxymoron. Uncreated. What is that? We have to ask ourselves, what is uncreated? That would be interesting and give us a calculation of infinity, which we haven't been able to really grasp yet. Infinity. DK's mate. It's Alan. Hey, buddy. I love you, man. I haven't seen you in a long time. Alan. Love to have you here, Alan. Glad you're here, Alan. And I'd love to see DK. And I'd love to be back on DK's show. And I'd love to have him as drunk as he used to be back on my show, too. He's pretty cool. But we have to get people out of this whole idea of physical material reality, or we're going to continue on this path of destruction that we're on right now. Pantheism in Christianity, followers believe in God created the earth, the sky, and the universe, but many of the world's belief systems believe the universe, like God, is uncreated. Uncreated. Rather than being a specific religion in simplest terms, it is the belief that God and the universe are one, which makes sense to me. People of different religions sometimes share pantheistic views. Now, I believe in a little pantheism. It goes a long way. Bruce Spinoza is known as one to introduce pantheistic beliefs to others in the 17th century. Pantheism came into being. The term pantheism is rooted in the Greek word meaning and theos, meaning God, divine, God, divine. Pantheismus was used in the book of Joseph Ramson. Although Spinoza introduced the belief and catalyzed its spread, other philosophers have expressed pantheistic ideas, such as Albert Einstein. I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the ordinary harmony of what exists in the manifestation, not in a God who concerns himself with the fates and actions of human beings. Now, you would all have to agree with this, I'm sure. This is a debatable subject, heavily debated subject. God, I believe that this substrate in no way concerns itself with the everyday playings and goings and comings of man, okay, or avatars and whatever player in the game. It doesn't work that way. I mean, if you look around the world, it doesn't take 5 brain cells to see that everything's fucked up and that we're destroying ourselves minute by second, and that we're doing all the wrong things, and that we're making all the wrong decisions, and we're misappropriating all of the funds coming from the people, and that we're all these wars going on, time. So, no, God doesn't involve himself or herself or itself, whatever it is, in the daily activities of the people. Now, this would eliminate the type of prayer that you learn in the Bible. And it would bring us to a point of pantheistic meditation and concentration of what Spanky said, mind over matter. This would bring us to mind over matter. We have the intention, we have the capability, we have the talent, and we should have the wisdom to grow and be able to manifest these things that will bring us back into perfect harmony, perfect health, psychologically, mentally, physically, and spiritual health. And we should be able to do that. But people, the problem is people are addicted to drugs, both street drugs and pharmacopoeia. They're addicted to alcohol. They're addicted to junk foods. They're addicted to junk drinks. They're addicted to cigarettes. They're addicted to cigars, to pipes. They're addicted to sex. They're addicted to gambling. They're addicted to whatever. All the wrong things. And so you have all of these people doing all of these things that are unbalanced and non synchronistic, and you're going to reap the consequences of those actions, mind over matter. If your mind is in that negative condition, is your mind in that destructive condition, you're going to manifest destruction. You're going to manifest disease. Spanky, would you like to comment on that?
Well, yeah, because the ones who's really showing it is the Bible thumpers.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, they show it big over anybody else, like the wars over in Israel that's going on now. Now the Palestinians is talking about killing all Jews. What is the Jews saying? Kill all Palestinians.
right.
This, that. Neither one of them is backing down. That's the biggest one there.
Well,
You know,
if you look at Ukraine, they would drop bombs in Russia and blame it on Russia. It's insane. It's insane. Look what the Russians did. They blew up their own nuclear plant. Oh yeah, whatever. And then you
hmm
have the Nord Stream pipeline. They blamed Russia for the Nord Stream pipeline. Well, we know that the United States did that. We know that the CIA did that. We know that the special ops did that. But it's a blame game. It's a blame game, and that's a part of
hmm
lower consciousness and being in a lower frequency is to try to blame everyone else for your problems. You got to find somebody to blame. You got to find some target. You got to focus on somebody else that made me do this bad thing. Man, it was their fault. He got me on drugs. She made me crazy. He made me kill her. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. It's never people taking personal responsibility for their
See,
own action behaviors.
see, because that's like today. The Palestinians and the Israeli peoples that's over here now. They want to sit back and start blaming us for what's going on with them over there. I'll be the first to tell them I ain't got nothing to do with it. They ain't
Right.
did nothing to me. They ain't did nothing to me. I'm not gonna do nothing to them. Sit back, except sit back and talk and have a good conversation. That's y'all thing. So why do y'all want to all of a sudden want to start getting pissed off at us over here because y'all saying we ain't doing too much, we ain't doing nothing? You know, yeah, Biden's a old geezer, but at the same time, he's trying not to create something else. But then at the same time, you got them other countries over there with their religious belief is trying to create something, you know. So I'm like, why is
Well,
these people getting pissed off at us?
well, the reason they're pissed off at the United States is because of the central banks and because of the economic hitmen going into every country and taking it over prior to the CIA moving in with their special ops and then their economic changes and with the World Bank and the World Economic Fund. and the Trilateral Commission and the United Nations. So we've made all of these countries hate us because we're always meddling in their business. We always want to be the police of the world. We want to be the gods of the world. We want to take over the world. We want to be, this
Exactly.
global insanity, oligarchy, and so the
Exactly.
United States, it's going to boil down here in the next couple of years to, who's in the ring, who gets knocked out. That's what it's all about. Who's going to get knocked out? And I mean the final knockout. I'm talking about a Muhammad Ali here. I'm talking about a Mike Tyson blow. Somebody's going to get knocked out. Somebody's going to get on top. It's either going to be China or Russia or the United States. Okay, it's going to be those three. Okay, China, Russia, the United States. It's not going to be Iran. It's not going to be Israel. It's not going to be North Korea. It's going to be China or the United States or Russia. And right now, China is way, way, way above us in discipline and the war machine, weapons, technology, science, and discipline. The United States is like the Three Stooges. We got the Three Stooges running things here. The Keystone Cops are running things here, you know. And believe it or not, the Chinese are not corrupt like we are. They're not crooked like we are. They're not insane like we are. They're not
Mm-mm.
dystopic like we are. They're not confused like we are. They're very dead set. They're very disciplined people. They're not like we are. Our government is just insane. A bunch of dysfunctional dipshits and a bunch of complete morons running this government, and they're all paid off, and they're all blackmailed, and they're all bought and paid for. So that's a problem. We're the most corrupt country in the world. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't never let anybody shine a flag to me and say, rah, 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 Americans are so good and we're so special. No, we're not. We've caused every war since the Northern War of Aggression and long before Columbus ever did not set foot on this shore. We have caused every war. We have caused every piece of destruction and killing and murder and molestation and mayhem that's ever happened on this planet has been England, Britain, the monarchy, and then the Vatican, the VC, in that District of Columbia there, that 6 by 6 square mile used to be 10 6 by 6 square mile DC, and of course the Vatican, and of course the Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commissions in the United Nations. So we're at fault. We fund both sides of the
Question.
war.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think do you think there'll be another Vietnam?
Possibly so. I think we have a Vietnam going on right now. Ooh, oh Lord of mercy, that was beautiful. Just for that moment, one moment. Um, there's a Vietnam going on right now in Israel and Palestine.
Yeah,
And
but I
it is.
mean a Vietnam. I mean because Vietnam we had no reason on going over there and it was the 10,000 day war
Yeah.
and we couldn't get nothing accomplished. You
Well,
know,
we
that's
didn't.
like an
You're right. We didn't accomplish a thing, and the Gulf of Tonkin was the catalyst for all of that, as was the Pearl Harbor for the Hiroshima dropping the bomb on Japan. The same kind of situation. Now we knew that those Banzai pilots were coming into Pearl Harbor, but we were told, "Hey, don't do anything about it. Leave it alone. Let them attack." Because we're getting ready to try the new bomb out. So that was kind of crazy. So here you are letting people come in and bomb your harbor, knowing what's going to happen. Okay. And we just wanted to use the bomb on Hiroshima. We wanted to do Hiroshima because we wanted to experiment and see, oh, how many people can we kill with this thing? How does it work? It was crazy. It was crazy. It had nothing to do with aggression. It had nothing to do with terrorism. It had nothing to do with we need to protect ourselves from these horrible Japanese people. And then after the war, you see what happened? We started rounding all the Japanese up and putting them in camps. Oh, you guys are all terrorists, We're going to put you all away. We're going to lock you up in prison. See, this is what we do. We're insane. We're crazy. The
Mhm.
United States is insane. We did this to Japanese Americans, families,
Mhm.
and we've done this to the Irish. We've done this to Africans. We've done this to Malaysians. We've done this to Somalians. We've done this, to everyone. And
It be
no wonder we're hated all over the world. No wonder we're hated all over the world. We bully our way into everything. We just
exactly.
bully our way in.
Exactly. And then on top
We
of it,
want it all. We
and then
want
on
it
top,
all. Go
yep,
ahead,
and then
Peyton.
on top of it, it's peoples who want to do it that won't sit back and say, "Give me a gun, I'll go over there." They'll sit over here and hide. We call them CB Rambos in trucking.
Oh yeah, they
That's what
they
we
put
call.
they put our boys, they put our young boys and girls on the killing fields in the killing fields. They put them on the front line to die while they're hiding in their bunker drinking champagne, or they're up at Mar-a-Lago having a party. Yeah, of course. I mean, these people are expendable. Look, I was in the service. You were in the service. I mean, we're expendable. They tell you that when you're in basic. They tell you that after basic. You're expendable. We send you out there. We don't care. You're expendable. You're expendable. You used to
Mhm.
tell me, now you go on this mission, there's a 90% chance you're not coming back. You know, so
Exactly.
they don't care. They don't care.
Or
You're just another body out there with a gun. That's all you
uh-huh,
are. Another body with a gun.
uh-huh. Or if something don't go right, they can sit back and push a button and kill you their own selves.
Right. And I can't think of one war. I can't think of one war that was completely 100% legitimate against a real enemy. Look at 9/11. Okay, look at 9/11. Look at all the mistakes that were made in 9/11. How obvious it was that that was our government that blew up the Twin Towers. I mean, how obvious could it possibly be after all of the research I've done? How obvious could it be? And no one has said a word about that since then. Everybody's forgotten about it. All of these idiots have forgotten about it. Okay, we did that. We did that. Okay, I can name 25 things right now that happened to prove that that was us that did that. Okay, and they went after these 9 guys that couldn't even fly a Cessna 150, or a Cessna 182. They couldn't even fly a simulation, and you're telling me they flew a 767 into the Pentagon or a 767 into the Twin Towers? You've got to be insane. That is impossible. That is impossible even for the most Top Gun pilot to do what they did. Okay, I fly. I'm a pilot. Okay, that trajectory and that angle and that speed was impossible. That was done with remote
Mhm.
control. Remote control done with servos. They use servos, massive servos, to do that. And so,
And then
that's how our country works.
and then the two really biggest clues that came off that it wasn't somebody else was Tower 7 went down, Tower 4 went down. They was never hit. The Pentagon
And
got hit. The
and
Pentagon
the
got
news
hit.
lady. Do you remember the news lady that was talking about Tower 7 going down before it went down? It went down eight
Yeah.
seconds after she said it.
Mhm. Mhm. And then and
What
and
did they
then number
do?
2, and then number 2, how come there wasn't no parts when it went into the Pentagon?
Oh, there wasn't
There
any
should have been.
parts. No airplane seats. That was a missile. That was a missile.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a
But
missile.
with the technology that we got, they should have knew exactly where that missile was fired from, and it was fired from close range.
Yeah, of course it was. Of course it was. I honestly believe it was a drone.
Yeah, yeah, but it was something bigger than a drone to get through quite a bit of that. I mean, I didn't deliver down to the Pentagon a couple of times, and for a bomb to get into the center, it got quite a bit of things to go through.
Yeah, I agree.
They were
I agree.
saying that they found boxes in the structures that resembled boxes that would be utilized to place bombs. The boxes were in contact, like connected. They were not damaged, is what they were saying. But
Yes.
I would do more research on it. I prefer not to do that kind of research on my computer.
The thing is, on the Twin Towers, they found thermite, and that was all. That was all hushed up. They found all the thermite on all of the main
The poles.
structural components of the
Yeah.
building, and so that was, of course, demolition. Of course, and all of the firemen that I know, and I interviewed one good friend of mine who was a battalion chief, and he was retiring at that time. He told me it was thermite. He told me they heard the bombs going off. He told me he heard the explosions going off. All the firemen said we heard the explosions going off. You know, and so but the American public doesn't care. They just don't give a shit. Okay, like I said on the show last night, you can tell people we've been so desensitized in this country. You can tell people 20,000 people died this morning over in whatever, and they just like, oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
They do Zoom prayer sessions. They get together and they talk about things and they have lots of little group chats. I
Yeah,
got kicked out of the one for Israel because some lady on there was really not nice. I tried to educate her
yeah.
and I did it in a private setting. I privately contacted her because she was saying information that was not accurate. And I said, it's fine if that's how you feel, but I wanted to communicate something with you. And
Well,
Hmm.
she
I've
said I had to leave the group. So,
people do not understand how Israel became Israel. I have all the data on it, and I'll read it tomorrow night.
usually they're
You know,
American.
Israel was not there. There was no Jewish, nothing Jewish going on there. Okay, nothing Jewish going on there. Okay, the Khazarian, we're dealing with the Khazarian mafia, and we're dealing with the Jesuits in a lot of ways, and we're dealing with what they call false Jews or fake Jews. This is all a big ruse. It's all a big diversion. When Israel first started, before they became a state in 1948, they were just a tiny little speck on the map. And then they give them 5 years and they're this big, and then give them 5 more years and they're this big, and then give them 5 more years and they're this big. And they just killed hundreds of thousands of Palestinians and molested all their children and locked them up in cages. And they did horrible, horrible, unthinkable things to Palestine. And then we wonder why Palestine is upset. Why are you mad, Spanky? I'm coming over to your house tonight and I'm going to break all your windows out. I'm going to tie you up and I'm going to slit your throat. And I'm going to kill your wife. And I'm going to, I think I'll rape your
It's so sad because they have a whole alley. It's an
kids while I'm
actual
at it.
alley.
And oh, by the way, yeah, I know what it is. And Golan Heights and all the rest of it's just bullshit. It's all a dog and pony shit. It's all a wag the dog deal. And of course, Israel will come out on top no matter what, because they have the United States backing them up. This is why we have the Gerald R. Ford over there right now. This is why we have warships in the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico. We have ships in the Atlantic, the Pacific. We have submarines, black nuclear subs on both shores, and we're ready. We're locked and loaded, ready to rock and roll.
Hmm.
But anyway, folks, we're going to go. It's 7:41. It's going to take forever to upload this show to Rumble. I hope I didn't get too nasty tonight. My sponsor, I'll have to talk to her. Our partner, I'll have to talk to her, and hopefully she is going to let me continue over there. It really doesn't matter to me whether she does or not, but I appreciate her doing what she's done for us. I sure do, and I'm very grateful for that. But I'm not going to change my personality, and I'm not going to change my narrative, and I'm not going to change the way I handle the show just to make some headway with another station. I can't do that. Can't do that. I can't be fake. I have to be real. I can't be a hypocrite. I can't be two-faced, and I can't kiss ass. And I'm not going to follow the leader just to please someone or to grow. So anyway, and I know Faith doesn't do that either. I know Faith is Faith, and
I'm
you
very
know,
real. Yeah,
yeah,
some moments it may
uh,
sting, but we got to be real. We come from love. I come from love, but I also come from reality of communications with what I see, what I acknowledge, what I feel, and I'm not going to tell somebody that I want to be with them if I don't. You know, and you guys have to really see who's
yes,
around you. Who do you trust? Again, I want to call that out before we say goodbye. Is who do you have around you that actually cares about you?
you know, you're right, Faith. I'm glad you brought that up last night, and I'm glad we talked about it because so many people jump into relationships that they shouldn't even be there in the first place. They shouldn't have even gotten started with the conversation, and they should, they just jump. They jump. They don't think. They don't think, and then they get in trouble, and I hate to see people waste that part of their life away. Some women, some men, they'll waste 4 5 6 years of their life when they knew they should have never got into that relationship in the first place, and they spend the whole 6 years fighting and arguing and grabbing and hitting each other, and it's just it's insane. It's insane. We
Hmm.
need to try to get to them on this show. We need to try to get to them early. And I think Chris said this morning when I was talking to Chris, he said we need to reach the younger people. And I agree with him. We do. We need to reach the younger people. And I would say not too young. With our show the way it is, I would say 19, 20 years old. In that age range, I would say we probably need to reach more of those people.
But
But they're too busy playing these games and doing stuff that they're not listening to alternative radio. We need to
now,
find out how we can make that change a little
now,
bit. What's making?
now, see, the thing about the younger crowd is now, I mean, 'cause I talks to a lot of them, and they all say the same thing. They say, "How can we trust this person is saying this, that person is saying that," and they're starting to make bonds amongst each other. Because one thing I've always said was, these kids are not looking at color anymore. If you're there in the path, that's it. Nothing
Yeah,
else, you know.
yeah,
And the thing to that is because I do a thing where I speak because I am an ex gang leader,
yeah,
and and when a couple of them found out who I was, who I really was, and they was like, "You?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "You don't even show no signs, you know." I said, "Well, sometimes, you have to sit back, observe. What word I'm looking for? Evaluate, evaluate before you do something. Before you do something stupid. Then you're also gonna have to think of the consequences too. What if? I have changed a lot of young guys.
yeah.
I have changed a lot of
I've
them.
worked. I've worked with some of the MS-13 boys and girls, and I've worked with some of the Tes Locos and some of the Eastside Locos, and I've changed a lot of lives over there too. I used to take them through my Scared Straight program and take them to the morgue, and I used to take them to the embalming room and let them watch me trocar a few bodies and pull out a few brains through the nose. And that changed a lot of boys, brought them to Jesus. I tell you, I had a lot of come to Jesus moments in there in the embalming room with those boys. And used to take them to my crematorium and burn a few bodies and let them see some of their gang members be thrown in my 2,000-degree fire. That brought a lot of boys to reason, real quick. They're like, man, I don't want this. I don't want this. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't want this. And I'm like, well, if you keep fucking around out there and shooting people and jacking people up, this is where you're going to end up right here in my morgue. And then I would take them
Hmm.
into my freezer with all them nasty decomp bodies in there oozing all over the floor. And I tell you what, they come out of there crying. They come out of there crying, man. They come out of there crying. They thought they big badass boys till they got a hold of me. But
Hmm.
the Scared Straight program works. It works.
Oh yeah.
And you put them in the pen. We used to take them down to state pen there in Texas. And we used to let some of them big OGs come out and kick their ass for a while. You know, we'd send them in there all day long, and them boys would just rack them up, man. They scared the heck out of these boys. Thought they were big badass boys carrying a little pistol around with them, holding it the wrong way, you know, when they go in, you know. And when they came out of that penitentiary, my friend, they were scared to death, literally.
Mhm.
Because you know how them boys are down at state pen.
Oh
They're
yeah.
big old boys, man. They'll chew your nose right off and spit it out on the floor, you know.
Oh yeah. And
But
they'll tell yeah, and they'll tell you real quick, ain't getting out of here no time soon, so I don't give a damn about you.
that's what they tell them. Yeah, that's what they tell them. They say, you're going to be in
Can't
here with
walk
us,
backwards.
boy. And they tell them, you know what? You're some sweet meat, man. You're some sweet meat. When
Mhm.
I get
Walk
your little
back.
young ass in here, I'm going to have some fun with you, baby. And that scares them boys. That scares them boys. I know it scares me. It scares the hell out of me.
Shit, you and me both. And I
You
was
know.
in one. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
in
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I've been in jail 3 days in 67 years, and that was enough for me. I don't want any more of that. You know, I just don't want any more of that. But anyway, I love y'all, and we're gonna head out of here, and we'll see y'all tomorrow night. And may the force be with you all. Keep your head on a swivel, and know that we're here for you. We're all here for you. All of us together are here for all of you. Mary says good night. She loves you all very much. Good show tonight. DK, friend there, mate. Alan, I love you, Alan. And Alan, you and I need to talk. I'll holler at you over there on Facebook if you hadn't got banned like I have. They've just about killed me on Facebook, but I've been in jail. I've been in jail. I'm a jailbird, man. They
You
keep
need
me
some
in the.
commissary money?
Yeah, shit, yeah. I need some money put on my books, baby. They put me in solitary confinement, dude, over there, man. They've locked my ass down over there, man. But anyway, I love y'all. And Faith, as usual, you're beautiful tonight, girl. You're just beautiful.
Thank you. You,
Yeah.
I love you too. Thank you.
Y'all, yeah, oh, there's Chris. Chris, what's going on, dude? Why did you just now decide to pop in?
No, I just been the phantom in the background, man.
Well, what have
There always
you?
has to be
Well,
some kind of villain out there, and I was just the villain today by being quiet.
well, I don't know if I like that or not, but it's okay. I'll let you pass because I love you, brother. But what's going on? Any questions? Any comments or anything?
Oh, everything's great. Um, no, there ain't no questions. You know, I think everybody in the country and the world could probably comment some way or another about some of the things that's been discussed today. Um, but mainly, I don't like. We talked here. I listened to some stuff about Israel and what's going on there, and I actually seen the president more lucid than I had seen him in a while. I don't know if the lithium was up or what, but he done a good job speaking up for the people. When I what I saw, but it was more what I saw about what was going on in Chicago, what was going on in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
seen that too.
You know, right? When and then you start seeing people getting at the Capitol going to jail,
forever.
and they're peaceful. They're sitting there for peace, and here come the Capitol Police and the big bus. I mean, they actually have buses for this situation. It's really crazy to even think that the Capitol Police have to have Greyhound buses sitting on the sideline just so they can pick up protesters and take them away. But they have it. You know, um, I think our priorities are totally in every which way screwed up on what is important. And when I see those terrorists with no regard for life, it brings me back to a conversation that I had with a man right after church one day. And this man was from there. And he looks me dead in my face and he says, "You need to understand." He said, "We've been in war for thousands of years." He said, "Wars every day.
Yes, we have.
We're born with it.
Yes,
We born and die with
go
it."
all the way back to the Ottoman Empire.
Exactly. You know, and that when you talk about generational war, come on, man.
Well,
Now you know this is stupid. You know, it comes down to greed. Greed is driving all of it. Vanity, uh, the power over another. Hell, you even got the power over yourself. What the hell are you trying to do? Power over somebody else? These people can't even make the right decisions because the ones they made just killed innocent people. They're striking against the innocents and saying that it's religion, telling them to do it. I'm getting ordered by my superior. Well, evidently you take orders. You're not the one in charge. So maybe you need to step back and stop taking charge. You know,
Israel is just as ideological and just as bloodthirsty and just as insane as any Palestinian. Israelis have been killing both fake Jews and real Jews, conservative Jews, progressive Jews, and liberal Jews have been killing and molesting and beheading children in Palestine and blowing their whole country to hell for the ever since I can remember, and they've done some of the most horrid things. And the only reason people stand up for Israel is they've been brainwashed of this biblical bullshit about Israel are special, Jews are special, they're the chosen people, and all of this bullshit, 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 and more bullshit. So yeah, they're bloodthirsty, bloodthirsty, and they have just done some of the most horrible crimes against humanity that can't even be described, the Israelis, and they're going to continue. And they think white people are nothing but niggers. That's what they call us, niggers. That's what Jews call us, niggers. I was married to a Jewish princess, and I know, buddy. I've been all over the world, my friend. And Jews think that we are just no better than blacks, and they hate blacks. They can't stand blacks. And so, yeah, they think they're superior. They think they're God. They think they're special. They think they're chosen. And in my book, they're all full of shit. So, you guys take care, and I'll see you tomorrow night.